Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. So, today we are going to move to our next topic about local languages for our academic listening course. Okay, so before we start, let's open this meeting by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, guys, so these are learning objectives for today's meeting. So, there are three objectives that you are going to do on this meeting. The first one is the language development, and the second one, skills development, and the third one, exam practice. So, in terms of language development, there are words related to communication, language for agreement, and disagreement. Yeah, and also you are going to learn about such dialect and certain accent, yeah, in particular local languages, especially in British and also in UK region, yeah, atau UK. Okay, so the next one, skills development. So it will relate to the pronunciation, yeah, work, weak forms, disappearing sound, connected speech, understanding diagram or picture, positioning, exploring options. So, unfortunately, for the pronunciation thing or pronunciation material related to the weak forms, disappearing sound, yeah, disappearing sounds. And connected speech will not really emphasize on this meeting, since actually I believe you already familiar with this kind of thing on your very first meeting on the intensive listening course on your first semester, ya, di semester satu. Okay, so you are going to focus only on understanding diagrams or picture, positioning, and exploring option. Okay, in the exam practice, you will do an exam, yeah, a practice related to the multiple choice question, selecting from a list and labeling a map or plan related to the language or local languages. So, without any further ado, let's open this meeting, yeah, by moving to the next session or the next slide. Okay, let's get started. Okay, guys, what do you think about these pictures? There are two pictures related to the topic today. Yeah, topic for today, in which local languages. So, certainly in UK region, there are such a language that mostly used by the local people. The language itself is actually derived, yeah, or obtained or developed based on the past culture or past languages that what is it that growing or that growth in such UK region. As we know, there are so many periods or types of periods, and maybe the duration or periods or ages of or in English region and English local language. Yeah. So it led the locals use certain language besides English, for example. Yeah, so there are many kind or there are variety of dialect and accent that usually used by certain people or particular people or British people. So this example, yeah, show you the example of certain language that is can be found in UK. Yeah, we could see on the right picture here there is such a shop. Yeah, I don't know which is the kind of shop specifically. I think it's kind of bookshop, let's say, or maybe it's such a kind of restaurant. As you can see, there is a phrase, there is a sentence, yeah, that actually found in Ireland or Irlandia. Yeah, it's such a indicate an Irish language. Yeah, as you can see, the words or phrase here is sound and it can be pronounced on, spare, August, on, tell of, or tell of. Yeah. So these phrases or this kind of word is usually used by Irish people. Yeah. And the on the left side there is such a huge stone, I think within the stone there is written a specific language on it. Yeah, I think it is placed in such a museum. Yeah, and everyone could see it clearly. Okay, so these example are the picture of certain languages location, I think. And it could be the one who or I mean the one can be found on certain thing, on certain object, and also it can be found or further used in such a restaurant or many things or kind of things that related to our daily life. Yeah. Okay. So let's move to another slide to know it better. Okay, so the price that we already pronounced all together on the previous slide is actually come or coming from Irish Gaelic. Yeah, it pronounced on spare August on tel uf or tel oh. Yeah, okay, it means or translate to the sky and the sea in English. The price is often used to describe the vastness of the ocean and the sky together, and seen in various contexts, including literature, yeah, and everyday conversation. So this kind of thing, this phrase is actually a common, yeah, is actually related to the local language that most of Irish people use on their literature, I mean, and everyday conversation. So there are many phrases that come from a local language then further used by the local. So it related to the our topic today about local language. And what about your local language? If you are Sundanese, you might you may have, you may have certain phrases that indicate your local language. And for you, yeah, Japanese, maybe Japanese, yeah, and also other ethnics, you might have your own price, yeah, from your local language. Okay, that's it. Let's move to the another one. Okay, so this is the practice for you. Yeah, exercise that you have to match the words 1 to 10 with the definition A to J. Yeah, so you have to match this word with its definition. Yeah, there are so many words related to the local languages. Yeah, that you have to know its definition. So good luck. And another task or practice for you is you have to match the words connected to language 1 to 6 to the example A to F. Yeah, so you have to match these words, language, dialect, slang, idiom, metaphor, and collocation with its example. Okay, best of luck. Okay, for this one, you have to underline the correct word in italics in sentence 1 to 6. So actually, you have to choose or decide whether the dialect or accent that suit better with the context or its definition or its what is it its explanation. Yeah, so you have to choose either dialect or accent for the number one, and then language or semaphore that indicate a sign language, and then rhetoric or metaphor, and then nuance or connotation, transcription, or was it tracing, bilingual, or reiterate, yeah, for the last question. So you have to underline the correct words. Okay, that's it. Best of luck again. Okay, on the next section or on the next session, you are going to listen to a audio, yeah, related to the impact of digital technology on the Icelandic language. Yeah, so in Icelandic or Iceland, yeah, let's say, there are so many local language that actually affected by a digital technology. So you have to make sure that you are answering the question properly. Yeah, so there are 10 question, 31 until 40 that you have to answer. At the end of this video, you will find the answer. You So you have to focus on the video first, and then the text written directly or displayed directly on the video, and you have to follow the video duration, and then at the end of the video you will find the answer, yeah, the correct answer. So you have to make sure how many numbers that you get it correct. Okay, there are 10 numbers, 31 until 40. Okay, best of luck for your practical test.
Part 4. You will hear a lecturer on a languages course talking about the impact of digital technology on Icelandic, the native language of Iceland. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Right, everyone, let's make a start. Over the past few sessions, we've been considering the reasons why some world languages are in decline. And today I'm going to introduce another factor that affects languages, and the speakers of those languages, and that's technology, and in particular, digital technology. In order to illustrate its effect, I'm going to focus on the Icelandic language, which is spoken by around 321,000 people, most of whom live in Iceland, an island in the North Atlantic Ocean. The problem for this language is not the number of speakers, even though this number is small, nor is it about losing words to other languages, such as English. In fact, the vocabulary of Icelandic is continually increasing, because when speakers need a new word for something, they tend to create one, rather than borrowing from another language. All this makes Icelandic quite a special language. It's changed very little in the past millennium, yet it can handle 21st century concepts related to the use of computers and digital technology. Take, for example, the word for web browser. This is vafri in Icelandic, which comes from the verb to wander. I can't think of a more appropriate term because that's exactly what you do mentally when you browse the internet. Then there's an Icelandic word for podcast, which is too hard to pronounce, and so on. Icelandic, then, is alive and growing, and it's a big but, young Icelanders spend a great deal of time in the digital world, and this world is predominantly English. Think about smartphones. They didn't even exist until comparatively recently, but today young people use them all the time to read books, watch TV or films, play games, listen to music and so on. Obviously, this is a good thing in many respects because it promotes their bilingual skills. But the extent of the influence of English in the virtual world is staggering, and it's all happening really fast. For their parents and grandparents, the change is less concerning because they already have their native speaker skills in Icelandic. But for young speakers, well, the outcome is a little troubling. For example, teachers have found that playground conversations in Icelandic secondary schools can be conducted entirely in English, while teachers of much younger children have reported situations where their classes find it easier to say what is in a picture using English rather than Icelandic. The very real and worrying consequence of all this is that the young generation in Iceland is at risk of losing its mother tongue. Of course, this is happening to other European languages too. But while internet companies might be willing to offer, say, French options in their systems, it's much harder for them to justify the expense of doing the same for a language that has a population the size of a French town, such as Nice. The other drawback of Icelandic is the grammar, which is significantly more complex than in most languages. At the moment, the tech giants are simply not interested in tackling this. So, what is the Icelandic government doing about this? Well, large sums of money are being allocated to a language technology fund that it is hoped will lead to the development of Icelandic-sourced apps and other social media and digital systems. But clearly this is going to be an uphill struggle. On the positive side, they know that Icelandic is still the official language of education and government. It has survived for well over 1,000 years, and the experts predict that its future in this nation-state is sound and will continue to be so. However, there's no doubt that it's becoming an inevitable second choice in young people's lives. This raises important questions. When you consider how much of the past is tied up in a language, will young Icelanders lose their sense of their own identity? Another issue that concerns the government of Iceland is this. If children are learning two languages through different routes, neither of which they are fully fluent in, will they be able to express themselves properly?
That is the end of part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 4.
Okay, guys, after you challenge or train yourself or practice yourself listening to an audio very related to our topic about local language, then you have to be able to understanding diagram or picture, as this topic is also included to your learning objective for today's meeting. So you have to understand diagram or picture. Yeah, exam information, multiple choice. In the listening exam, some of the multiple choice questions require you to choose the correct answer from a set of diagram or picture. So you have to read this following indicator and aspect that will help you while doing this kind or this type of listening test. Yeah. And the next slide is the example of this topic or kind of exam related to understanding diagram and picture. So let's have take a look at it. So this is the example, yeah, of a material related to exam information about understanding diagram and picture. So on the listening test, on most of listening tests that related to the local languages, there will be a question related to the understanding diagram in picture or picture, I mean. So you have to remember and so you have to keep practicing on this kind of type of exam, yeah, on listening, because this kind of exam will always appear on such IELTS test, so you have to keep practicing yourself about it. Okay, best of luck. Okay, next, for the information, yeah, exam information, besides you have to understand diagram or picture, you also have to be able to labeling a map or plan. Usually, on this kind of topic related to local language, the question will be about labeling a map or a plan that related to the local language, the location, the exact location, or yeah, a geographical I mean position, yeah, or location, either is north, east, south, or west. So you have to keep practicing yourself while doing this one, because this one also will always appear on the IELTS test. So you have to keep practicing it to makes you or to make you easier while doing or while listening to this kind of topic. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, let's have a look at the example on the next slide. Okay, so this is the example of whenever a topic about labeling a map or plan always be gitu ya. So you have to match the position on the map 1 until 6 with the description. of geographical position A to F. So this kind of test will always be appearing, yeah, or will always appear in such IELTS tests related to the local languages. So you have to keep practicing while deciding the exact or the proper, yeah, the correct location or geographical position of a thing, of a language, let's say, since this topic related to language, it probably will lead you to understand a certain location for specific or particular language. Okay. So actually, these two are not for your practice exam, yeah? This one. But actually, after this slide, you have to answer, yeah, a certain or several questions related to this topic about understanding diagrams or picture and then labeling a map or plan. So, best of luck. Okay, guys, so this is for your first exam, yeah, for today's meeting. So, in order to find the exact audio for this one, you have to listen to the track number 80, since I will provide you with a whole unit of the audio or the audio in whole unit for this topic. So you have to decide, yeah, so you have to find, the audio number 80. Yeah, so you will be able to hear this instruction, and you have to be able and you will be able to answer the question. Yeah, so you have to find the audio number 80. Okay, next. Okay, and then, yeah, last slide or previous slide, you have to be able to understanding a picture or a, what is it, a diagram, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And then on this occasion, on this or in this exercise, you have to be able to hear, yeah, a group of students discussing their presentation on the language of the different regions of Spain. Listen and label the map. Yeah, so you have to be able to labeling a map or plan. Yeah, as we discussed before. So you have to find the audio. Yeah, the audio is number 81. Yeah, so you have to find the audio number 81. The audio I will provide, yeah, to you is actually a whole unit of the audio. So you have to be able to find the audio number 81 to be properly answering this question. There are 5 questions related. Okay, best of luck. If you have any question related to this one, please send me a message, yeah, a message through my WhatsApp. Okay, best of luck. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for your attention. Yeah, let's close this meeting by reciting Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, guys, best of luck and see you next week. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.